Hello there everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to a video about Gran Turismo 7 Sophy AI 2.1 which has arrived in update 1.57 with a great deal of fanfare. Definitely for me the most interesting thing about the update 1.57. I know the BOP changes to Group 3 have been very significant and impactful on the game, but yeah, I was really interested to see how Sophy AI, which is now available within custom races, would perform when you kind of were able to have the freedom to set your races up the way you wanted. Now, Sophy arrived in November 2023 with a lot of fanfare, but to be honest with you, it was a little bit rubbish. There was definitely potential there. You could see the potential when you went into the 3-lap races. On the first lap, they would be really good, then would slow down, then they would let you win, and yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't really race against them very often. The first thing I did when I loaded up update 1.57 was to jump into a custom race with the Sophy AI because I wanted to see how they would perform over a kind of race set up like a standard daily race C, if you like. And to be bluntly honest, I was very disappointed in how they performed. They clearly had a kind of algorithm which was designed to let you win. So I started at the back, made my way up into P1, and all of a sudden they managed to find some pace. Then they made a pit stop, and all of a sudden they were like 4 seconds a lap faster. Now I will show you that race in this video later on. Now I was about to make a video about Sophy AI, basically saying, yeah, it's pretty rubbish, no need to get too excited about that. But I did a little bit of investigating and I came across a forum on GT Planet, a custom race thread where they kind of talked about, they've been talking about custom races for a long time and some of them done some very interesting projects, but I came across somebody who says you have to set the boost feature to weak to get the full Sophy AI experience. Now I was a little bit sceptical about that. I didn't really want to be putting on a boost feature, but what they were saying is that by putting boost to weak, it appears to disable the kind of rubber banding and the catch-up. So sceptical as I was, I decided to give it a try, and boy was I blown away by the results. But only PD could actually mess up such an amazing feature by having the settings the wrong way around. But the race I'm about to show you is a custom race that I've set up to kind of mimic a daily race C around Grand Valley Highway, and honestly the results are absolutely amazing. So let's run through the settings for this race. Obviously you can see we've got Rival Car AI GT Sophy in the top left hand corner there. 10 laps, 20 cars starting in P10, BOP is on, slipstream is real, but this is the setting that matters. If you have this set to off, the cars will rubber band, they will kind of go slow to let you catch up. Once you get into the lead they'll go fast, if they drop behind they will just speed up to catch back up with you. If you set it to weak, it appears to disable that feature and the cars just kind of drive at the pace that they are programmed to do. Tyre wear at times 4, fuel at times 6. I wanted to get a pit stop in this one. Custom weather, early morning, speed at times 4. And for the cars that we're going to be driving, I decided to set up a grid of Group 3 Vision Gran Turismo cars. The Suzuki, the Citroen, the Mazda, the Volkswagen and the Toyota. I know some of them are not legitimate VGT cars, but yeah, you're kind of a little bit out there. So 5 different cars, 4 of each car in the full 20 grid here that we have for this custom race. So let's get this one underway, because genuinely this might be the best race I've ever had against AI, and it's genuinely right up there with any race I've ever had against real players. With this race set up, or with Sophy AI set up the correct way, the results honestly are absolutely mind-blowing. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure whether I'm going to have to ever do any real multiplayer racing, because if Sophy AI can perform like this over just about any track and car combination that I can set up, and we'll put Sophy AI to the test later on in this video, you know, I don't have to do the same race over and over and over and over again. I can just set up my own races and get a competitive race with the AI, which is what I've always wanted from Gran Turismo, and this genuinely feels like the first time it has ever happened. So we're in the Suzuki VGT, starting down in P6, and you've seen that cheeky little Citroen had a look up the inside into turn 1. And you can see that straight away they are right on the pace here, and to be honest with you, this is the second time I ran this race, so I'm up to pace at this point as well. It's not a case of me not knowing how to get the car around the track at this point. I know exactly what I'm doing here. And there's that Sophy AI launching one up the inside as we go into the tunnel. In fact, we're getting mugged here by the Mazda as well. He goes round the outside of us into the chicane. Superb driving from the AI, and we're down to P8 here. We're going to get the slipstream down this long straight here. Now this is the sort of corners where your kind of standard AI would sort of lift off and kind of brake 10 miles an hour coming round the tunnel here, but nothing like that with the Sophy AI. And you can see as we move into the slipstream here of the Citroen, we're going to have to get forced around to the outside here, and we're going to try and outbrake the Citroen into turn 1. But we go a little bit deep there, and as expected the Citroen is going to keep it in the inside and actually gives a little bit of a door bang on the way around. So yeah, very, very lifelike, very much what would happen if you were racing against a real driver. And look at the Mazda actually backing out there through the kink. Again, the speed that the AI is carrying through that kink is just nothing like you would expect. That's the sort of corner in most racing games, and definitely Gran Turismo, where the AI would just brake or dramatically slow down in the middle of a corner. They're never able to carry that kind of speed through that corner that they can, like the sort of normal human player can. So we moved up into P6 here. We got the move down the inside of the Citroen, and that cheeky Mazda Anthony there has followed me through. And just to sort of emphasise how cheeky this AI can be, particularly this Mazda, he launches it down the inside here, and he was taking that position off me whether I liked it or not. And the Citroen is going to follow them through as we fall down to P8. But yeah, they were really putting up a good race. They were prepared to go for moves. They certainly weren't easy to overtake. They had some pretty good pace, to be honest with you. Now, we can go a little bit faster than what we're going here. We can definitely do 51s, but you know, we're not getting held up in a kind of silly way. They're just not quite as fast as we can go. But through the corners, they're carrying a very similar speed. They're not braking in silly places. Try to get the move down the inside of the Mazda here. Can we get it stopped? No, look at that. Very nice from the Mazda. Very, very well defended. They do go a little bit deep. It's going to give us the move down the outside. But yeah, a lot of the racing you have with these AI feels very, very lifelike. Very lifelike. I'm honestly blown away by this race here. And it's just constant battling, but it feels authentic. It doesn't feel like I'm getting held up by 3 or 4 seconds by these guys. I feel like I'm faster, but they're not holding me up so badly that I'm driving into the back of them, and they are defending their position. They're not scared to kind of stick it down the inside of you if the opportunity presents. When you come to these kind of sequences of corners, they're carrying very, very similar speed through here as to what I can. And they go defensive if necessary. You can see the Citroen there has taken the inside line. I'm going to try and go round the outside. There's a little bit of contact from a few of the cars, and we get pushed out and we remain in P8. But yeah, a lot of situations here where it felt like they were predictable. They were going through the corners at like a predictable speed. They weren't kind of braking in silly places. They were carrying a kind of sensible speed through the corner compared to what you can do. I'm obviously not the fastest driver in the world, but I am an A+ driver. I can usually lap for a second and a half of the fastest players in the world. That kind of standard 90-second lap. So we're not slow, but we're not the fastest either. But these guys were definitely able to give me a run for my money up to this point. But we were getting held up. I would definitely say we're getting held up at this point, so we decide to come into the pits nice and early. And we're going to change the tyres. We've set this race up where we don't need to change the tyres, but we do need to take fuel. So we're going to come in here, make our pit stop, take the fuel on that we need to try and get some clean track. And can we get an undercut on some of these Sophy AI drivers? Now, I must admit, when I did this race the first time, my big fear here, now the fact I had done a pit stop nice and early, and I had dropped a long way behind the leader and the back of the pack, I really did think that boost feature would kick in at this point. And now you can see as we exit the pits here, we are 32 seconds behind the leader. And I'm going to fast forward through a couple of laps here, and you're going to see that we are not catching that car in the lead, even though we get clean track and they were able to go a lot faster than we could when we were stuck in the traffic, or not a lot faster, but a second a lap faster. That gap is not coming down dramatically. We exited the pits around about 32.5 seconds behind, and we are only 31.5 seconds now. And strangely, that was a Sophy AI car running out of fuel. I was very curious as to how that happened, and it will give you a little bit of a laugh when you see what happened to that car later on in the video. So some of the Sophy AI are now making their pit stop for their fuel. Now that's something that they do need to correct, because the Sophy AI just comes straight out onto the racing line. It would appear they've been programmed to not get a penalty as well, because I do have cutting the line set up. And we finished third in the end. We did get the jump on a good number of the cars with the bit of the undercut, but not enough to get up into the lead of the race. In fact, I think we finished nearly 8 seconds off the lead. But what a race that was, honestly. The racing action I had with the Sophy AI was so authentic, the pace of them was good, there was no rubber banding, there was no catching up. It was genuinely one of the best races I've ever had against AI in any racing game, if not the best. And to be honest with you, as good as any race I've had against real players in recent times, for sure. So let me just show you, everybody starts on hard tyres. This is what you've always got to remember when you're setting these races up. You need to set it up to, you know, you have to kind of, there is limitations to the AI, so if you're on soft tyres and they're on hard tyres, you are going to be a lot faster than them. One thing I did find very interesting, I was kind of interested to take note, is that the AI did not change their tyres, despite the fact they are reasonably worn at this point. It is the quickest way to do it, so that was interesting, I must admit, that the AI cars never changed, or the Sophy AI cars never changed their tyres. I did expect them to. And here's how this Suzuki managed to run out of fuel. So it's trying to get into the pits here, and one of its rivals basically doesn't let it and nearly spins it round. So yes, that is incredibly lifelike. But let's be honest, there's lots of real players out there who would engage in such behaviour. That did give me a chuckle when I seen it. Let me show you a race, or what happens when you set that boost feature to off. This was the very first race that I did, that I spoke about earlier on in the video. We're in the Group 2 Audi around Lago Maggiore, 11 laps, kind of just set up like a similar daily race C, and we're starting down in P20 in this one. So we're going to jump forward, end of lap 1, we're still down in P20, but as we progress through the laps here, you're going to see we're starting to quite easily make our way through the pack, all the way up into P2 by lap 6. Now, they're not terrible, the AI, you know, they're not like incredibly slow, but they're nothing like you just seen in that first race there. We take the lead, and you can see by lap 7 we've taken the lead here. We've just done a 46.0, but as we go back to P2, you're going to see the issue here. Look at laps 3 and 4, or 2, 3 and 4, it's doing 1 minute 50s. It's doing those lap times because it wants me to catch up with it. It's going slow to allow me to make it my way through the pack. But once I get into the lead, all of a sudden, it can do 45.9s. So they're not doing a consistent pace. They are amending their pace to suit what's going on with you in the race. Basically, there is a boost feature going on, a catch-up feature, and it's even more exemplified because they made a pit stop and I didn't. And all of a sudden, now they're doing 41s. They do have fresh tyres, to be fair, but they're doing 41s. They're going 6 seconds a lap faster, and the reason they're doing that is because I've not made a pit stop. I'm really far ahead of them, and a boost feature is allowing them to go much faster to try and catch up with me, even though the boost feature is set to off. As I said earlier, for some reason, when boost is off, it's on. When boost is at weak, it appears to be off, and that's the crucial setting to get the best out of Sophy AI. But I want to finish this video off by really testing the AI, or Sophy AI, as into how adaptable they are. So for this race here, I'll very quickly set it up. We'll just fast forward through the settings, but again, just emphasising boost set to weak. But I have basically taken a road car, in this case the Alpine 110 from 2017, and I've turned it into a race car. I've kind of put everything that can make it into a race car onto it. And we are going to do a 13 lap race around Sardinia Track B. So I've never driven this car or track before, but then neither has the Sophy AI. I've literally just made this car up on the spot and went into a race. So this will be a real test as to just how flexible and how much variety you can get out of Sophy AI. And again, I'm going to be honest with you, we passed the test here with flying colours. So in that lap 1 here, or middle of lap 1 here, we're down in P10. We're just trying to find our way through this one as well. The car's quite tricky to drive, to be honest with you, and we are just trying to, you know, get a feel for what the car and track combination is going to do. But then Sophy AI doesn't have any experience of driving this car either, so I guess they're trying to find their feet at the same time, but I don't think there's anything special going on here. I'm not saying they're kind of learning how to drive this car as we are, but I did want to test them by just kind of putting them in a car they could have absolutely no chance of knowing what it was going to drive like, a bit like ourselves in this one. In fact, they're actually going to start mugging me here at this point because we make a little bit of a mess in the corner. We've got somebody down our inside into the fast left-hander. We're going to get hung out to dry here into the last corner as well. And we're going to get a little bit of a tank slapper going on here, I think, as we touch the curb. Do we? Oh yes, there we go. And they're going to put us all the way down to P15 by the end of lap 1, start of lap 2. So not the best start. P13, not as bad as P15. Anyway, we did actually make things a lot worse for us come lap 4, coming into the last corner. Once again, we're just going to get ourselves on the grass here, and we're going to spin off. Now, I was going to quit at this point. I thought, oh well, what's the point in racing? But then I thought, why not continue racing here? I've got a little bit of clear track. I've dropped nearly 10 seconds behind the leader. Let's just make sure that boost feature is definitely not working when we've got it set to weak. And well, definitely it isn't working because it took me 5 more laps to catch back up to the back of the pack. I'm still 10.5 seconds off the lead, despite the fact that I am now the fastest car on the track. The AI cars are doing a very competitive pace. They're doing kind of low 25s, so absolutely on a very, very similar pace to me. And we'll get 3 laps here to see if we can work our way through any of the traffic. But yeah, they're not easy to overtake for sure. We managed to get by 2 of them and finish this one down in P18, still 10.5 seconds off the lead. But yeah, hopefully this has been a demonstration of just how impressive Sophy AI can be when it is crucially set up properly. Now I have no idea why the kind of boost feature or setting between weak and off seems to be the wrong way around. Hopefully PD can fix that in the future, because I do feel that a lot of people are going to miss out on racing against Sophy because it's just not very good when it's set to off. And furthermore, to get the best out of the AI, you have to make sure you set your car up to be identical to theirs. Make sure you're on the same tyres, make sure your cars get the same power and weight, and crucially, race them fairly. Race them like you would real opponents. Don't bash them out the way, and you can get a lot out of what the capabilities of this Sophy AI can do. To be honest with you, I'm really looking forward to just setting up some really, really weird daily race-y like races with the Sophy AI, seeing how flexible they can be, how they perform in the wet weather. Obviously, I haven't tested everything here, but just my initial kind of races and findings does suggest that they are very, very impressive indeed. But yeah, hopefully you have enjoyed this demonstration of Sophy AI in some way, shape or form. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.